Kentucky, Mr. Paul proposes amendment number 3376 and 3410 in block.
Mr. President, when Hurricane Sandy struck, the Northeast, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people were without power. We all saw the video footage, we saw the terrible trauma, and people are still trying to dig out from underneath the debris of Hurricane Sandy. During that period of time, hundreds of workers drove up from the south wanting to help. These workers were non-unionized and they were turned away. This was a sad day for our country that the non-union workers were not allowed to participate in the cleanup and were asked to join a union before they would be accepted as workers. I think it's a mistake to politicize things like this, particularly in a time of an emergency. So what I've asked for, and what my amendment would do, would be to allow an exemption to Davis-Bacon. Davis-Bacon is a federal law that requires that we not have competitive bidding on federal projects. What happens is, on federal projects, the wages are fixed at a union scale wage, and there is not a competitive bidding for wages. So what I've asked is that we suspend that and say, in order to get better use of the money, in order to advance the money by billions of dollars and do more with the money, and this is an enormous amount of money, running into the billions of dollars, in order to get better use of our money, to suspend Davis-Bacon, we would basically be allowing competitive bidding on wages. This has been done before. President Nixon and both President Bushes did this. During Katrina, we suspended Davis-Bacon because it was an emergency. We wanted to make the best use of our nation's dollars. This amendment would suspend Davis-Bacon for this emergency. It's estimated that it might save as much as 22% of the cost. Now, we're talking about billions of dollars here. $60 billion is being requested for this cleanup. Where's the money going to come from? You've heard we have an enormous debt, $16 trillion in our country. We have over $1 trillion in debt this year. Now, we print up the money, but that simply steals from your savings and steals from your current currency. We can tax you or borrow more, but we owe $16 trillion already. So what I'm asking here is, why don't we try to make good use of the money that's going towards this disaster, allow the money to go farther, and that is simply by allowing competitive bidding on wages. Currently, there is no competitive bidding on wages, and my amendment would allow for this. I urge my colleagues to stand with taxpayers against special interests, against political and partisan purposes, and for the sake of an emergency to say, we're going to be frugal with the dollar spent, we're not going to be extravagant, we're not going to reward certain special interests that are very involved in the political process. We're going to say, we're going to use the money wisely, we're going to allow competitive bidding on wages. And so I urge my colleagues to support this temporary and specific suspension of Davis-Bacon for emergency funds. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield back.